pornography, and one more thing, bestiality. I cannot believe we're talking about this on this show, but we have to do it because it's what's happening.
Yes, and let's look at the facts here. Mark Robinson, African-American male, who's been a role model for this nation. He's been a role model for North Carolina, and he will continue to be a great leader for this nation. He's one of the few African-American leaders right now standing up against this issue. So what does that tell you? That tells you that the Rainbow Nation, the LGBTQ community, they're coming after our men. They're coming after boys. There's an agenda behind this. There's no one, even if you're on the liberal or conservative side, most people will agree that when you're presenting things like that, especially in a school system, and these kids, and again, they have no idea what war is coming at them, especially when we have, the FBI protecting school systems and school boards from parents coming into meetings to figure out what their kids are being taught, and in terms of the safety of their kids. So what we see now is very egregious. I don't agree with it. People need to stand up very quickly because they're about to lose their freedoms to a system that's going to deny them their freedom. And so I am confused at some point to a degree because I'm surprised there's not a lot of backlash when people saw this or heard this, especially when Mark Robinson presented facts. It's on recording. It's in black and white. Yeah. There's no secret to this. There's no real science to this. These are the facts. This guy sounded like a KKK member.
Oh, no doubt. But I want to tell you what, right now, to my knowledge, the governor hadn't said a damn thing. Nor has the attorney general. And both of these guys were like, Black Lives Matter. We love you, man. We love it. We love it. Until, and this is what the point that Dave Chappelle made and others are making. You can insult, you can really have the left go after a black person or many black people, cancel them, treat them like a KKK member. And they'll be allowed to do that if it's from the Rainbow Mafia. That is a problem. And I think a lot of people of color are starting to see that. They're like, wait a minute. I thought you were with us. That is until you express an opinion contrary to them. And look, this is no small matter. To your point, Gaston, these are children. These are children that they don't deserve this. Shall I go ahead and roll tape on the shameless actions of these stupid reporters?
Again, these reporters live by a double standard. If you go watch that press conference,
let's do it now.
Yeah,
I don't think we've seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, because they act
disagreed with people socially. I have disagreed with people politically. I have disagreed with people spiritually, but never have I ever disrespected somebody like that. That's the kind of language that we're receiving in this office from people who call us vile, hateful people. The language that I use to describe the filth that you saw in those pictures is appropriate by North Carolina standards. By the law, it's appropriate. So guys, the message I'm going to leave you with is this. We are not resigning, and not only are we not resigning, we are not going to stop until the schools in North Carolina are safe from this kind of filth. We're going to keep fighting to make sure that North Carolina schools are safe and free from this. Thank y'all very much, and we'll take a few questions.
Lieutenant Governor,
yes.
You mentioned that these are examples of books that have been on display in classrooms in North Carolina. We've checked with Wake County schools, Durham County schools. They say this is not part of curriculum. It is not being taught in classrooms. There are some books that are available in libraries. Is that what you're referring to? Because you're being very clear to say that it's being taught in schools, and these districts say that it is not.
We are saying it's being presented. It doesn't matter if it's in one school, in one county. It's too much. This is too much, and it's far more than one county. And we have received reports that some of the stuff that we have mentioned has been presented in the classroom. But whether it's the classroom, the library, or teachers are just passing out in the hallway. It is unacceptable.
Lieutenant Governor Robinson,
Yes.
a video today surfaced of you speaking at the Upper Room Church in Raleigh in August. You said, if there's a movement in this country that is demonic and is full of the spirit of the Antichrist, it is the transgender movement. How is that not negative about transgender?
Look, my spiritual beliefs about transgenderism and homosexuality is completely...
I mean, we get it, right? They're trying to change the subject, and here's why we're winning. You can tell we're winning because you can't argue with the pictures. And
right.
So, yeah, the first chick was like, and this is not a professional. I mean, I'm a journalist. I don't ambush that. You could tell it's a big deal because it's like you said it was taught in the classroom, splitting words. They're playing word games. They want to change the subject because they know unless you're a damn pedophile yourself, you don't agree with these anywhere on the school grounds. And again, Gaston, this is paid for by the government. This isn't just a school, a teacher. The government is peddling pornography to children. It's the government doing it.
Mark Robinson hit it right on point. You don't hear anything from the White House, and you certainly don't hear anything from local officials around him. So what that tells me is that some of these elected officials, governors, or whatever you want to call them, they're bought and paid for. Same thing with these news reporters. And not one time did you hear any of them even object or at least come in agreement with what Mark was saying. You see that the pictures are there. You see the sexual acts. Yet not one of them could even be objective about themselves. Everything was about his personal opinions, his personal views, his religion, his background. Mark Robinson has every right under the Constitution to have free speech and say whatever he wants to say. Now, if people don't agree with it, that's another thing. But to continue to compartmentalize the truth is what I find very disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, here we heard several, I mean, hateful messages. Nothing, to my knowledge, ABC 11, 17, DeBarriel, they haven't gone to ask anyone, the Attorney General, anyone, the SBI here or the governor, what are you going to do about the KKK? Because clearly they're back on the job. We have heard absolutely nothing. To my knowledge, the state school board, of which Mark Robinson is a member, has not come out and condemned these statements. So if we're talking about equity and we're talking about zero tolerance on racial hatred, which I firmly agree with, and we're talking about, righting wrongs that may have happened from historic injustices, I think it's all talk.
It is all talk, but the bigger question is, why are we finding these books? Why are we finding these ideologies in libraries? It's almost like people are just planting seeds of dark roots in these school board systems.
Yeah.
And I'm not buying it. I'm not buying what these reporters are trying to ask Mark. I'm not buying what these teachers or elected officials or administrators are doing, because the fact of the matter is that there's a reason for why those books were there. There's a reason for why you see that. It's not by coincidence. It's not by accident. Let's stop acting dumb. Let's stop acting stupid. And let's actually come to the bottom of what I like to call actually common sense. The reason why we see that there, the reason why we see those is because they want to indoctrinate children. That is the agenda. They're trying to transform their minds into what they want them to become. They're not giving them any freedom of choice of their identity. Now, again, that's, really different from someone who, if they decide they want to join the Rainbow Nation, or they decide they want to be part of the LGBTQ, okay, that's on them. Like Mark said, he's not going to waste time trying to judge or talk about, someone's really personal life. What you do outside of, your personal life, your job, that's you. But to continue to enforce an agenda, especially on children,
right?
And then you have these adults, these what I call kind of cunning people, deceitful people, going back to fake news media, going back to the reporters. Why can't you ask the question, at least ask Mark this question? What is the plan of action to get rid of this filth. Not one time did they do that. So that tells me right there that they might be part of the agenda. They might be pedophiles.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, we're finding, I mean, we're finding that some crazy things are behind this. And to your point, we're finding a lot of projection, right? We're finding a lot of projection in this. And I think you tapped onto something. It's an agenda. We've been talking a lot about this SEL, social emotional learning. All these surveys, they're actually asking the children in every freaking survey, what gender are you? Male, female, don't know, two-spirit, whatever, right? The teachings that they are being given goes down that same path. And then the gender unicorn. This is something that has come up that Mark Robinson himself has teed off on. And so has Phil Berger and others, other Republican leaders, is that gender obsession is what's going on in the classroom. This is the tip of the iceberg, right? This, to your point, this is a definitely agenda, but this is something that the progressives know. A picture's worth 1,000 words, and not one of those 1,000 words is good on this one.
Well, they call themselves educators, and again, they're showing pictures, yet they're not giving me a science breakdown of any of this stuff. So by that definition, it's invalid. So we know, especially when it comes to men are dictated by pictures, men are visual creatures. We get that, right? And for the most part, everyone is to a degree, regardless of whether you're a male or female or whatever you really identify with. But I'll identify with the male, okay, in this point. If I'm a 9 or 10-year-old kid and I see that, I hope I have maybe at least some common sense or some way in my mind where I'm thinking, what is this? So when I go back home and show my parents this, what are they going to think? And I hope that my parents would challenge the system every day until they win that fight. I believe that's something that my parents would do. And I'm fortunate enough, to be kind of out of that school system and out of all this other, chaotic nonsense, being confused with, all this gender stuff. And again, it's very sad to see, because I believe this. I believe more parents know about this stuff, but they're waiting so long for a tipping point. But unfortunately, in my opinion, there might be a point where we might not be even able to save, some of these children if we don't stand up now. Yeah. We can't continue to keep finding this stuff in libraries and school systems. We need to crack down on it, and if we need, even to go against the FBI, another issue that parents are facing now, in terms of safety, in terms of people going into, bathrooms. It's a mess.
Yeah, we talked last night about what was going on in Loudoun County, and it was, again, the transgender issue, to the agenda that's killing all of us right now, because it is, it's not okay to be a boy. It's not okay to be a girl. It's not okay. And that's going to cause a lot of suicides. So in Loudoun County, in case you haven't kept up with this, there was a school board meeting a couple months ago, and a man was arrested, a father was arrested, and everyone made him the poster child of, parents are violent at the school board meetings. Well, now we find out that the poor guy was there to advocate on behalf of his daughter, who had been forcibly sodomized in the school bathroom, and the school was covering it up by a guy who was wearing a skirt. He was gender fluid.
But again, we know that. Listen,
but Gaston, right. Do you know that boy was transferred and went and raped another girl?
They committed another crime. So again, double standard. I'd like to know if there are like any video cameras or any footage or any evidence that school board can back themselves up with to kick that father out and to label him like that is complete nonsense. I've never seen anything like that before, especially when it comes to someone else's own daughter. You know, and we hear these stories, Sloan, it's almost as if these people, you know, are so kind of violent. They don't care about anyone else but their agenda, their platform, their title, their money. And this is what we will continue to see if we don't speak up, because again, our children are at stake. We can't allow this stuff to happen. This shouldn't be happening. And it shouldn't be this hard for America to have enough common sense to understand that when your children go to school, whether it's elementary school, middle school, high school, it's its own war zone. It is what it is. Whether people agree with it or not, your kid is entering a war zone, and they're going to have to be discerning and almost cunning about who these teachers are, because they love to cover stuff up to the point where it blows up in their face. And I'm tired of seeing it. And you know, my heart and prayers goes out to that family, because they're going to have to live with that for the rest of their life. This is not something where someone got hurt in recess and we had to just put a little Band-Aid on. That's not that situation. But people are looking at it like that,
Yeah.
which scares me.